Here I
Start
am.
banning people
Yeah,
from
I'm
the
hitting
server.
recording. I hit the record the big. It says start recording, and I clicked it, and it's done now.
Hi world.
And now, yeah, hello world. Now I'm gonna click the scene button, and so now on Twitch you can see my face
Oh my god, I gotta see this.
and my douchey white V-neck. Hi internet. I didn't see you there. This is Casual Lorechat 37, and we are a small part of the Elder Scrolls community.
We have too many of these Lord chats.
What do you mean?
Oh man,
small?
they're so great.
Lore.
We're huge.
Lore.
Did you give your wife the Alta Dune last night?
No.
No, big.
Yeah, she's in here, right?
Very good.
Wait, let me open.
Yeah. So anyway, Casual Lorechat 37. I am your host, the Wyquar. And so
Internet.
I don't do what? No. Anyway. So I'm just gonna glide right past that. So we as usual don't have topics figured out beforehand. So
that would require preparation.
yeah, so casual bongos, clavica. Wow, that's so loud.
Why is Palpatine in the chat?
Okay, turn your vibrator off.
What? Somebody get the Imperial Senate out of this
I
chat.
will
Oh
mute
yeah,
you.
casual bongos chimming me. Oh, chimming me.
Yeah, oh Jesus, this is gonna be a.
No, please stop it.
Is
Stop
already
it. Please,
This is-
for the love of God.
Okay, so in happier news, I can confirm I have Razumdar's model.
Oh man.
So I may be whipping up some emotes soon. I may be whipping up some evil things with Razumdar soon.
You have to make sure resin dog.
It is, Buck. It is.
Okay, so who's got a topic? Preferably someone who's never been in here before. What's a topic that we
Yes, me.
are gonna type?
I-
You got one?
I-
Okay, wife, go.
Fuck. Rat people are back of you. There. That's a.
Your mic's doing a weird, like fuzzy thing.
Yeah, I know. I can.
Oh, okay.
Oh, rat people of Akaviri. You mean the rat pirates
Yes,
and the
that's.
the Royal Rat Assembly and the Rat Vanguard.
Yes,
Let's talk about the Utah. Wait. No. We have IFW here. We should talk about the Utah mythos.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, we can get to that. I try to. He says no. He says no.
He just immediately shot that down.
No, that's fine.
Listen, they're bat elves.
But they're not elves.
So wife, guys, chill.
That murder. Excuse you.
Chill. Wife, what are we starting with? What are we talking about?
Rat people of Akaviri, of course, the rat pirates.
Rat pirates of Akaviri?
Oh, yeah, Andrew, do you not know about this?
I don't know about this. Well, see,
I've not heard of it.
last time we talked about Kathna K, and I was completely out of my depth.
Okay, so
once it's just going east does this to me. So
Yeah, so here's the thing.
Sounds racist.
Supposedly, we don't have much information about them, much like most things from Akavir, but supposedly, there are also two extra races in Akavir, a race of rat people and a race of dog people.
And that is all we know.
That they're just pirate little.
They exist.
How do you say it?
I think I've heard of the Doge people.
They're just pirate those.
But the rat pirates. Oh, that sounds like a way to bring Skaven into
Yeah,
test.
what's wrong with Skaven? You got a problem with Ratmen?
No, I got
Yeah,
no problem.
That's all the rules.
Yeah, I'm a
Dude.
Ratman in real life. Come on.
That
I'm a rat man.
that Sheeb samurai is fucking sweet.
I'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, dude.
I love anything that has 6 limbs, so...
No. So it sounds like, Charlie, you know something about these rat pirates of Akaviri? Yes? No?
I think
Gray
it's
maybe?
just going for a minute.
Gray maybe. So that.
Okay. Because I got fucking nothing.
They're okay. We can probably guess they have teeth like a rat does.
Probably.
And hair like a rat.
I mean, it's probably
Probably.
where The Great Mouse Detective was filmed.
Let me
I
bring
did
up
just
the
post
Call
something.
of Akavir bloody forums, because
Pirates because they don't have anything else better to do. Obviously.
Oh. Okay, so I see.
They're pirates because they're secretly malware.
So Toasty, Johnny, he posted something in the chat here. Where's this from, Johnny?
Everybody spread the goddamn hate and flu. I'm calling it.
The hot and flu.
That's how it's thanks.
Yeah, the K is silent.
Yeah. That's just where it's referenced in Pocket Guide to the Empire
Oh,
Third
okay.
Edition.
Oh, that's in third
Other
edition.
lands.
See, and I've read that thing cover to cover multiple times, and it's I don't know.
And you forgot about the rat people.
I don't know. I mean, it was before I had a beard of any mention. So I mean, I probably
Did you have the lore 5 o'clock shadow?
less clean shaven.
Damn.
You should make me a lore beard in ESO because I have an invisible beard, and also so I can add information to what I can tell people about.
Okay.
well,
So what Johnny pasted here, their first appearance in history was as pirates, which we may now assume were also scouts for the eventual invasions. Ships manned by bizarre beast folk bewildered and horrified the earliest inhabitants of Tamriel. Contemporary scholars find references to pirates with rat-like features, and still others who appeared canine, suggesting Akaviri cultures yet undiscovered and perhaps extinct. Then, of course, there are the dragons, Akavir's most deadly and beautiful former native child. The very name Akavir, in fact, means Dragonland. So real flimsy, vague stuff here about rat folk.
Yeah, because I have a conspiracy theory for that.
the Call of Akavir mod had some lore on it, but I'm trying to find our forums because it's been so long since I was on there.
So I'm curious about this conspiracy theory.
Okay, so basically, most of the plagues that Tamriel has faced, like the hate and flu and the plague,
Yeah.
I like to think that maybe, just maybe, since the CSC have this whole infiltration program, shut the up. Okay.
Ouch.
Okay. Maybe since the CSC have this whole infiltration program, maybe the rat.
Wife, turn down the mic.
What? I didn't hear it. What was that?
Sorry. Go on.
Okay, whatever. They maybe had a hand in spreading maybe the hate and flu, if not the Thracian.
So kind of like a black plague sort of deal.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. No, I can see that.
Shit.
I would greatly deny that they would have anything to do with the Thracian plague for a very particular reason.
What's that?
Slows sort of hate everyone.
Well,
I can't
yeah.
imagine
Well,
what also because if they work with someone, they can't guarantee that person's gonna do anything right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean the Nahaten flu and the Thracian plague are two totally different things.
Yeah, and also the Nahaten flu. I think we sometimes seem to see people forget this. The Nahaten flu was literally Ebola. Because it was the equivalent of the sniffles for Argonians, but it just happens to be deadly for other people.
Ebola.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I mean. Like, Ebola itself is a very common disease among bats, but for them, it's basically the common cold. The moment you introduce it to another species or another biology of creature, the disease itself has no idea what it's doing. So that's the unfortunate thing with the Nahaten flu. It's a very common disease among Argonians. Hey, Bongos. But the disease itself has no idea what it's doing.
He's trying to send us a Memo-spore.
Also, by the way, the whole Nahaten flu thing, that's also corroborated by the fact that, according to Merkmeyer, Argonians straight up just don't have a biology that makes sense. Their anatomy makes no sense.
I mean, Argonian
Yeah,
women have
Argonian have organic sap taps, bro.
Oh no, not this again. Oh god, please.
Oh,
Don't.
Quick,
God,
guys, quick reminder. Let's make sure we're not talking over folks, so it doesn't get too chaotic in here. I know we're casual, but
Why?
We're not that.
Yeah, I immediately regret introducing the idea that Argonian breasts are organic sap taps. I regret that notion, and I regret
Well,
existence.
listen, Khajiit lactate genetic memory.
Listen.
Wait, what?
Argonian
Silence. I know you coined the term, but I coined the idea of it. Or at least introduced it. And now I want to shoot self.
Argonian tits are exact.
I don't think I've heard you at all, Casual Bungos. Okay, so for the rat people who are pirates, I wonder if, because we know there are 4 main races on Akavir, supposedly, being the Kamal, the Seisi, the Kapotun, and the Tangmo. And the men have only been referenced vaguely, and they've never been named as such. So I don't count them among those 4 main.
I like to think that the men of Akavir are just the Seisi.
Yeah, see, and that's something that I've heard before. I have my own ideas.
I've heard a theory that Seisi are just like, okay, this is to reference something else. I don't know if any of you have ever read Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. It's an awful book. Okay,
no.
So essentially, the main opposition in that book are worms that crawl inside of you and take over your brain.
Uh-huh.
I watched the movie.
So there's this idea that Seisi are kind of like that, except they're like. I've seen some theories that, for example, their souls are special, and that like when they go to possess you, they just mantle you and take your entire identity.
Oh, for that. Oh,
wow.
I still can't find the Call of Akavir forums, unfortunately, but I'll try to just wing it with what I remember from what we were coming up with.
Yeah, shoot.
We had the rats were more or less the goblins of Akavir.
Oh,
and
interesting.
That makes sense. Kinda.
Yeah,
and were largely they were the bottom rung slave labor race of the Seisi. And that's all I can remember, aside from the fact that I think we were going to have a town with them. But...
Well, so there's also the thing that, like, Seisi features must be kind of relatively human in nature, right? Because they talk in Oblivion, and God, Oblivion's such a bad game. They talk about the fact that, like, if you have more Seisi-like features in your face, then you're considered to be more beautiful in Imperial culture.
Well, there's always the Chevalier Renault. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
He looks pretty Imperial, but I'm not sure.
No, well, he's also marked in game, like in the files, as an Imperial.
I'm not
sure.
Also imply they can.
I'm not sure if it's because it's because the Akavir the Seisi that joined Riemann kind of like changed their ideologies and just changed their skin and just look Imperial. But I'm not sure if that's related.
Well, Chevalier Reynold eventually becomes Zuran Arctis.
That's
right.
Get it right.
That's actually something Lawrence Schick said to me.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
I had read that. I read that Lawrence Schick said, "No, it's super obvious that Abner Thorne becomes Zuran Arctis." But
he gave me all kinds of sarcastic stuff with that.
Great.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Abner Thorne is a Seisi, obviously.
No, here's the thing. I will say that as far as Seiichi, it's difficult to say, but evidently in the Elsewhere DLC. I don't know who this character is because I haven't played Elsewhere yet, but there is an Akaviri spirit you can make who is very...
Yeah, Valorian Kite. I know that guy. He's cool.
Bellerin, Pro-Consul Bellerin Kai.
Well, you're pointing out kind of the shape of his body, right? Is that kind of what you're going for there, Charlie?
Yeah. This is more for the whole thing of if he is Seishi.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a link?
If he is Seishi, then it would seem to imply.
Yeah, it's the quest from Hakushe and Elsewhere.
I would also like to say, the fact that Abner Tharn, who, keep in mind, when Abner Tharn was a child, he would have likely known Seishi as he was growing up.
Especially since Abner Tharn is like
them as having scaly feet.
Yeah.
Abner Tharn refers to them as having scaly feet in one line of dialogue.
So we know that they have boobs and legs.
Yeah, we know that they don't just have tail legs, maybe.
okay.
See, here's
that's something unique, kind of. There we go. That book.
Not Lamia.
such a tiny image.
That there's a book. Okay, so this goes back to Malmer, sadly. They mentioned that the Leviathans have snake legs in the book The Scaled Elves, but then they don't portray them that way. So
I would just like to point out, shit, I'm trying to remember which book it is. There is a book that has a first-person account of the Malmer, and specifically what the woman goes into with her encounter with the Leviathan, is that the Leviathans still have bipedal legs, but they seem to walk in a sort of uneasy manner. Like their minds just don't know how to walk with legs that way.
I kind of noticed that when I was like in Sunhold. I noticed that they're kind of beastly. They're not really like unnerving or anything, but it just kind of walk in a beastly.
Yeah.
do you guys think there's any link between the Malmer and Seishi?
No, absolutely not.
Nope.
I mean, I've got some pretty radical stuff that I do with Akaviri.
It's often quite silly to me to try and say, oh, there's clearly a link between these two very separate cultures because one thing shared.
Yeah. And in regards to the CSC that we see in Elsewhere, I think I was watching one of the Twitch streams that the devs were doing, and I think they had Layman Tuttle on, and he pointed out how they specifically avoided giving details about what the CSC look like as far as like their skin and hair,
Oh yeah,
and that kind of thing.
completely covered
Body armor.
in every instance.
That went really badly with like the Moongrave Fane DLC did.
Yeah, and see, and I think part of it is like, so people will point to the Akaviri that we see in Knights of the Nine, in Sanker Tor. There's Akaviri ghosts, I think, that we meet.
No, it's in Pale Pass.
Is it in Pale Pass? Okay.
Yeah.
And we meet them, and he's not a snake person, but I don't know that that's necessarily indicative, because this kind of gets into a mechanics versus lore issue. Because at least in Oblivion, why would they make a whole like fully animated model of like, you know, a snake-tailed humanoid for this, you know, this one quest? Like, it just wouldn't be economically feasible. They gotta, you know, that kind of stuff costs money and time. You know.
I have a counter argument for that, though. If anyone would do that, it would be Bethesda. I mean, look at the amount of unique enemies that appear for like one quest or one
Goop is actually
thing, like the corrupted shade.
Well, I mean, this is Oblivion we're talking about. So this is, you know, mid 2000s or so, because it came out what 2000 and oh god, what was that?
2007.
2007? Is that when it was?
I think so. But I mean,
2006, I think.
But the corrupted shades have a unique, as far as I know, a unique mesh that doesn't pop up again until Dawn Guard, which is a DLC.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the floaty no-leg skeleton thing.
Well-
The shades are basically like just skeleton animations, just with the legs removed. Because if you look close, you can hear the skeleton footsteps.
Yeah.
The Bone Man and Wrathman and
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard to say because we don't really get to see behind those closed doors. We don't get to see what's going on in the development process. Maybe there's something that someone creates, and they expect it to be a bigger part, and then they scrap it, and then they've got these resources, and they say, okay, well, what are we gonna do with this? And so then they, shoehorn it in somewhere else. And so I mean that's something that I think is definitely possible in terms of the couple instances where we do find unique models and textures and whatever else.
Very true.
But for
CAC, like on the topic of CAC, I always had this headcanon. Well, ever since just Moongrave Fane, but I always had this headcanon that you basically just they're actually really vampires because they basically, like Bongo suggested, they become what they eat. So in order for them to shapeshift into what they eat, they basically consume the blood of what they need to basically become. I'm not sure what their performance is like, but I like to think that it's a big thing, especially because of the CSC. What's it called? I forgot the name. The infiltration program, like they had in Valiant.
Oh, sure.
I think that's a big thing that basically they infiltrated a culture and destroyed it from the inside out by also consuming blood and then shapeshifting.
See, I take a much less literal approach at the CSE, but I don't know that I necessarily want to get into that.
I think I do think that the snake magic talked about by the Malmer and the stuff that CAC do are probably related somehow. I don't think they're the same race or related like that, but I do think they probably use similar magic.
Possibly. And I mean, there was a point.
Even if you Silence. Even if you are just a snake, if your magic is linked to altering the self, and you are a snake, and then there's a species that there's another species that focuses on controlling and manipulating snakes, then you're effectively doing the same thing.
Well,
Live, on the note of your thing, it's interesting to note that in the same dungeon where you meet Renaud, you meet another member of the Dragon Guard who's trying to drink dragon blood to become a dragonborn.
Oh yeah.
To become an emperor, but he's a Nord, which could mean that the CSC do that, but because the Dragon Guard are obviously mostly CSC dominated faction, even though he's a Nord, might do that. Oh, great.
Right, and I think
But,
it's
like-
a learnable ability. I think that's something the CAC can pass on to you, which is why I'm saying I think it's a type of snake magic. My thought about it is that it's like you're like taking someone's name and putting it over yourself to become as them. It's like mantling based or mimic based shit.
I just thought that because he came from the Dragon Guard, he might not have entirely realized that that's not a thing that the Dragon Guard teach, but just a thing that's racially possible for the CSE.
I like how one thing that the Dragon Guard actually teaches is the Doom. Like, they teach you about
Doom, 3 easy steps.
and they actually teach you shouts. Like, Grunt uses 3 shouts. Unrelenting Force, Disarm, and an unknown shout that I don't think we have a name yet.
I just wanted to say something.
Say it.
What's
For
up?
what it's worth, there's a Akaviri that you can read in here. So
Yeah, there's several.
supposedly from Akaviri itself, but passed down by imperial descendants of them.
And are you talking about? Sorry, are you talking about Hakashe? The
No,
town?
it's a world boss in
Yeah,
in
you
elsewhere.
can. There's
Okay.
like a book there that there's it's an early told tale from Akavir.
Yeah, and I mean, I when I did the quest
Ghosts
and
that can shapeshift.
yeah, they have a really interesting quest in there about how your ancestors can come back to haunt you if they're displeased with you,
Yeah.
and
that's what the book is. The legend is about.
yeah, which is really cool.
She has some really interesting
the ghost
lore that
changes shapes.
They do have some really interesting lore in their wife.
Oh,
I screen capped all of it.
If I'm
like how whatever bodies of water, rivers, lakes, and water in general can be a portal, like a road to this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, they believe that all waters are portals to the.
Which yeah, that water is a
memory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That it's like to memory. If memories are shed when you die and come back as water, then the dead are in our water. Like that's. I mean that's.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't believe.
Okay. So like something we're talking about is like serpents. Since sea serpents inhabit the water, then it may be likely that they're somehow the memory of dragons given.
Mirror echoes or something.
See, I would. Go ahead.
Like corrupted bad
dragons
memories or corrupted memories, or forgotten, corrupted.
Okay.
Of course.
So we look at things as like an unreliable narrator, right? And you have memories that are twisted of people and stuff, right? So like I think when you die, if you become memory, then like it's not only your own memory, it's everyone else's memories of you also. It's not just singular. It's not like it's not the memory of the dreamer of who you were. It's the memory of everyone within the dream of you. So like when you die, you become like components of all things that people believed of you.
Okay. I want to take that and I want to run with it. Because I was kind of thinking about because I have a model for the soul that I kind of rely on. I gotta find a timestamp here. Not quite. So yeah. So we got the AE, which is like the serial number of your individual soul. This is you. Yeah, I mean, it's like, in your computer, you've got a motherboard, and that motherboard has a serial number. Well, that motherboard can be taken out and put into a different computer, but it's the same motherboard. That is the AE right there. Then you've got the memory, which is well, the memory is built from, hold on, the memory is built on top of the AE and influenced by the AE, and it can influence the AE itself as well. What's that, wife?
AE doesn't really. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just like the absolute foundation, but it's like below the foundation.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the protonymic. Which,
right, but so
yeah.
like okay. So your soul, I think. Okay, so I think your Nimic is just what makes are the two things that make up your Animus or your eye, right? So we know that like when so the reason that necromancy sucks in TES is because you're literally just taking a random soul and just stuffing it in a body, right? There's no eye.
Not really. It's not just that. It involves like Daedric binding somehow, because you basically just you use a Daedra, not a Daedra, but a single Daedra, the singular of a Daedra.
Well, Daedra don't have souls. They have they have what is it? Visages, I think is what they're called.
Vestige. Well, I mean, yeah.
They do still have a soul.
Yeah.
I know that, but for the Animus.
I know that necromancy not only involves like taking, I think, taking something and just stuffing it into a dead body and raising it so it just minds. But I heard that a practice of necromancy is that basically you take the animus or something of a danger, you stuff it in a body so it doesn't have to be mindless, but it has to obey you like in some manner. Like, so it's bound to you, but it's also bound to mindless or whatever.
So this necromancy thing, I want to come back to it, but we're kind of getting off track here. Because I was leading into something here. So we got the AE, we got the memory, and then we got the animus, and the animus is, that's the juice in the battery. That's what gets you to go. This is where, your proclivity for magic comes from. Such as like when...
You went from AE to animus. I think you skipped something.
No, I mentioned the memory. I don't think I fully finished explaining it. So let me jump back. So memory, it's built upon the AE and is influenced by and influences the AE. And it can also stick to the animus as well. But this is basically all of your collective experience as an individual. It is what makes you you. So, for example, the different iterations of Nerevar, the failed incarnates, they all share the same AE, but their memories are different. Therefore, they are different people. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
your IE is like having your fucking is your mimic is coming back over and over. It's not what makes you you.
It's the
Your
most fundamental part of you.
your soul.
I can't hear you, Warden. Also, I always thought that the Nerevarines were just failed, weren't actually incarnated, but
I mean, they're as always, there are people who disagree with me on this, but I'm of the mind that all the failed incarnates, they were true incarnates, they just didn't take the right path. Their personality and their actions weren't quite enough to get them to fulfill the prophecies. They could not succeed as the Nerevarine, whereas you did.
The reincarnation of the Nerevarine involved like Nerevar's soul literally being ripped from Moonshadow and reincarnated as someone else, and not the AE being.
Yeah, it's the AE being brought back.
It was a soul.
Yeah, because I mean, there's even
his actual soul still just chills in Moonshadow, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's probably got his memory. Is probably hanging around in Moonshadow, totally. But the AE, yeah, the AE, those base building blocks, those are being sent back.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about that. So there's this thing where there's some kind of dissension about the dream sleeve, and I want to talk about how like memory plays in the dream sleeve and. Yeah,
well, let me finish what I was trying to get out. I was trying to build a foundation and get to where I was trying to go. Because Chernobyl, you were talking about how the memory is the collective memory of your memories and the memories other people have of you. And so I was thinking about that. And so given that model of the soul that I've just kind of laid out there, then I think that the memory that returns post-death as I think it's rain. That's the system that exists to bring memory back to Mundus. But LJ, you're singing.
Yeah, I sing.
Stop singing.
He had to listen. He's showing us Akaviri tonal magic.
You're throwing me off my groove, man.
He's tonally. He's
LJ, stop leading up to some Mongolian throat singing.
No, that's an Argonian thing. Anyway.
Okay, so we're on.
So hold on. I'm almost done. So the water that forms the memories other people have of this person, those are tears. So when someone mourns a loss, their tears, their memories of that person join.
Collecting and see.
Yeah, That's
Okay.
that's the thought I had. And I thought that's actually kind of cool, especially considering that rain itself is the tears of Kine. So it's yeah. I mean, you know,
Well,
salt and
kind
So
boring.
so when Kine cries, when Kine cries, we have okay. What does that say about all the lands we have that breach the water, though? Doesn't that suggest that they're memories of something else, also?
Yes.
Like a
Memories
kalpa.
of
Wink,
past
wink,
kalpa.
nudge, nudge.
I mean-
I wanted to talk about Dragonbolt because it has lore on that.
Kalpas?
well, one person at a time here.
What's a plural of kalpa? It's kalpe or
Kalpai, probably.
Well, I mean,
Kalpas.
it's not rooted. It's not rooted in Greek or Latin, so it wouldn't be an
It's
e
Hindi.
on the end.
It would be.
It's
Kalpe sounds cool.
yeah, it's Hindi. I would just add an S on it and call it a day. Kalpas.
Yeah, the plural is
Yeah,
kalpas. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Adding
On-
S to
on
make
the
things
topic of-
plural is actually is an Indian feature of
Yeah.
our language.
one thing I was wondering, like, on the topic of, like, the ocean and, being memory, you know how, like, a lot of this thing going around that each continent is a different kalpa or something like.
Which I disagree
Yeah.
with personally.
No,
Yeah,
I don't think that. I think
I
they're-
would
I
like
think
to.
they're echoes.
I would like to suggest something different. That it's basically that, but instead of each continent being a different kalpa, it's each continent being an echo of past or future
Okay.
kalpas that are bleeding into the current kalpa.
Right, and
I may
That comes back to the 12 worlds of creation thing coming
Then-
and combining on Nerd.
I may have to explain my heretical thoughts here because now it's too relevant.
So,
I don't agree with the different kalpa. Different kalpas, different continents.
Yes.
I give a different spin on it.
Say
Whoa,
And
it's actually just bleed.
I take things even farther.
Oh god.
I don't like to see because a different kalpa, that's just hitting the reset button on your computer. It still boots up, but
Yeah, but
yeah, I mean so here's how I explain it in Tesla when people ask, "Oh, what's a kalpa?" I say
away from the cow.
hold on, Matt. I say, okay, imagine you're writing a college essay. 5-page essay, you tack it out, whatever, there it is, it's all done. Then you highlight the whole thing and hit delete and you start over. That is the next kalpa. It's the same topic. Hold on. You may make the same points, you may make the same arguments, but your wording is inevitably going to change. You can't perfectly remember your entire essay. And so while your essay may be different, but it still has the same overall thrust, what it's trying to say, what it's trying to convey. It is different.
Consider that whatever you're writing on, there's basically like there's a very thin,
Parallel
very little
timelines.
remnant of what you previously deleted and like stored somewhere in the source code really deep. But there's still remnants of what you deleted somewhere. There, and that's what
Sure. Oh yeah. And so like, say you used a specific turn of phrase, and you were like, "Hey, I really like that," and then you recall it and you add that in again. It's a repeat, right?
I don't think, but I don't think. I think saying that only one kalpa can exist at a time is kind of goofy, especially when we know that multiple amaranths exist at once. So why would it be the case with kalpa?
Because here's the thing, and
A kalpa just refers to an epic of time from the creation of an arbus to the end of an arbus.
Okay, Cherno, I think I can give you a good explanation. They're happening at different times in relation to what you are experiencing. All kalpas happen at the same time on the grand scale, but from your perspective of reality, they're happening at different times.
which
Yes, that's how I see that
which is what I say about dreams,
But-
which is where I'm going.
That awfully sounds a lot like time.
I also think though that
Light years.
I also think though that you have kalpas that aren't happening at the same time, like that are so like when Nern begins, or the Orbis rather, like there must be kalpas that have ended prior. It's not the first kalpa of them all. Otherwise, like that doesn't make sense.
The games aren't the last.
Sure.
But not really.
But here's, yeah, I know I'm trying to keep order as much as I can. But so here's, and it's really hard to put this into words. I can't even visualize this. You know, I can't draw this because it's so so abstract. But
what Matthew just said in chat is that kalpas are simultaneously sequential and parallel. I agree with that perception.
Oh yeah, oh sure. But here's the thing. I mean, we have different kalpas, which, I mean, it's the turning of the clock. You've got the one clock, and it turns. Hold on. But at the same time, we've also got different timelines. So, like, imagine you've got, you know, there's a mass-produced clock somewhere. You know, it's a shitty analogy. I won't do that. So, I mean, because quantum physics was used in the creation of the deeper lore of the Elder Scrolls, then we have, you know, the whole multiverse thing, and that doesn't even take into account the kalpas themselves. So, I mean, we have, yeah, I mean, we've got block time, we've got all these different potential paths of causality, you know, from point A to point Z, and so, I mean. Go ahead.
What can visualize in Elder Scrolls lore? Trust me. Like Howard's made of poetry. A man that pleads identity. How can you picture that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
thank you.
You're welcome.
What I'm trying to get to is the continents themselves. I do not see as kalpas, and this is something that Cherno we've talked about before. My idea, and this was my first lore essay that I wrote a few years ago, Dreams, Perceptions, and Other Philosophies. And in it, I discuss, so I take Morello Ryan's approach, that the dream is a literal dream, and the continents Yokuda and Akavir are other literal dreams. And so the idea is that we have 3 dreams, we have 3 dreamers. There may be more that we don't know about, whatever. But the fact is that, at least in this theory, I won't say it's a fact, but you know what I mean. So the reason we can see Yokuda or Akavir from Tamriel is because these ideas are being conveyed to Anu, the dreamer of Tamriel. And so Anu interprets this information. So if, you know, I walked up to you and I was like, hey, check out this idea, then you have an idea of my idea. It's your interpretation of it, right? And so this is what I call the lens of perception. So anything that comes from Yokuda, anything that comes from Akavir has to be interpreted by the dreamer. And so, yes, we can have things travel between the two because that's a successful exchange of information. But then, for example, because Akavir, if it is an actual dream, it's built on love rather than violence, like Anu's dream, because the wedding between Jubal and Vivek.
Right? I do not believe that if Akavir is I don't believe that it's the Akavir.
I think it's bullshit.
I don't think it's the. I definitely don't like believe it is the Amaranth.
Hold on, Matt.
Coda.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is something that MK himself has said.
He said specifically that Akavir is the Amaranth of Jubal and Vivek.
Yes, or at least he strongly implied it because the bat tiger of Jubal's house is supposed to be the precursor for Tash'Raqqa.
Okay. So, but the Akavir, I don't believe the Akavir we see on Nern is the Amaranth of Jubal and Vivek.
No, neither do I. Launch.
I think it's an echo.
No, it is Anu's interpretation of the real Akavir. It may not even be called Akavir.
It's what I'm
saying. The reason I think that is because otherwise they wouldn't be invading Tamriel.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
They wouldn't be warlike.
But see, here's the thing. The real Akavir, the one that Jubal and or Vivek are dreaming, the one that if we were to jump dreams and be in their dream, and we experience their dream the same way we experience Tamriel, it would be vastly different because we are seeing their world, their creation. But then once hold on.
Unity and love,
Yeah, exactly. So we have these ultra peaceful people, but then we get the Saisi. They may not even be Saisi. They may be, some golden skinned mer looking thing. I don't know. and so they.
Okay, so here's how I say it.
Hold on, mighty man. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Right.
Also, hi.
Yo.
So these peaceful people, they want to come and they want to spread the love over to Tamriel because Anu's hurting or whatever, right? And so they come over. But if you have been so abused and neglected and you're grieving and you're in pain, if someone shows you love, are you going to be suspicious of that? Because I think that's, so you see this kindness. Okay, what's his angle? What's he trying to get from me? How is he going to hurt me? Right? This is this is the attitude that Anu has because he's in so much pain. He's so used to conflict. That is his entire mindset. And so any love that comes becomes warlike. And so everything he sees, which is the Seasi has been interpreted by Anu to be these snake people, and they're warlike, and they're searching for this, they eat it to become it. This is a metaphor. This is all metaphor that Anu has used to describe the real idea that originated in Jubal's mind.
Black Hammer is. I really.
Alright, I have an alternate interpretation of Akavir.
Hold on.
Why is the Black Hammer?
Hold on, Clavica smile. I missed what you said at the end there. What was it you said?
Me?
Okay. Yes. Someone said something about I really, and then I wanted to end it with zig zig. That was a Spice Girls reference. You're welcome.
Okay. Topical Spice Girl reference.
Yeah, that's real up to date.
Oh yeah. Hey, I'm a child of the '90s. We're with it, man.
Yeah, all the.
I used to say radical.
I heard
unless it's a JoJo reference, in which case, okay.
Okay.
Is this a JoJo's reference?
It's all. I mean, we don't have Bell.
JoJo reference.
Yeah, we
I think casual Lorechat
What's
are
the
a
JoJo reference?
When Serpentine is here, they're definitely JoJo references. Lots.
And when she's not, I make them JoJo references.
Yeah.
Malmer having serpents is a JoJo reference because that's their stando.
Okay.
So
as I was saying,
yeah.
How's that for advanced shit posting?
Minor Man wanted to start a thing. Go ahead, Minor Man.
Okay, so what if the real Akavir versus Jubal's version is like the difference between Japan in real life and Japan in anime?
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly the same thing. So in this lore essay that I wrote, I keep using the reference of what if your red isn't my red? Like you've all thought that, right? What if we don't see colors the same way, right? What if we look at the sky and what I see, I think is blue, but it's actually the green.
There's a term for that in quantum physics.
Is that qualia? Is that what you're?
Right. There's a term for that in quantum. Yes, qualia.
Qualia. Yeah. That's and I actually mentioned that word in the lore essays. I mean, there are these things I can't possibly see through your eyes with your brain. No, it's not a no.
I was going to say a fantastic example is also the concept of Groot.
So I mean, say we're looking at a fire hydrant or something. The fire hydrant is objectively red, but maybe I see it as green and you see it as purple. Our idea of what red is changes, but it doesn't. But hold on, it doesn't alter the fire hydrant itself, right? The thing is still objectively red. So with the Sayesi, right? The Sayesi come from Jubal's mind to Anu's mind, and they are changed in the process. But to them, there is no change. They've always been this way. Everything remains in continuity. So any histories, any stories they bring, they're going to reflect the same interpretations that we see in the people themselves. So now the Sayesi are all. Go ahead. What's that?
Not really a huge fan of the continent as Kalpa thing, to be completely honest.
Oh yeah, no, that's why I say they're dreams.
But I like confident grammar of even less.
Because I mean the biggest argument I get is, oh well, how can they be different dreams but they exist on the same planet? And that's like, well, that you're missing the point. You're thinking too three-dimensionally. We gotta expand our ideas here a little bit, because yes,
generally maps are two-dimensional, reflections of a three-dimensional surface.
In the form of. You have to think in the form of 14th dimensional weaponized math.
Yeah, basically. I thought it was 16th dimensional.
No, yeah, 16th. You have to think in the form of 16th dimensional.
Yeah, but I mean, just because we see, a thing doesn't mean that thing isn't bleeding in from somewhere else. Yes, it exists here, but it's not the real thing.
Whole, Atmora equals space without time, like that I can get.
Yeah.
I can get down.
Yeah. Well, here, let me.
As it were. But...
Let me link.
Can you get jiggy with it?
Yeah, I can. I can get deep down in there and.
Yeah. Let me.
Can you whip and nade to the concept?
I'm just gonna link. So there it is. There. I linked the lore essay. It's relatively long.
I think qualia also plays into the concept of CHIM though, because I think the thing about CHIM is that like a requirement is it makes your perception of what royalty and love are the same amongst all the users.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have a very specific idea of what Kim is.
So Vivek in his sword meeting with Tiber Septim talks about how he taught him to understand the concept of the ruling king, and like through that he learned CHIM.
Does Vivek have a sword meeting with Tiber Septim? Because I thought he only had the one with Cyrus.
Oh, but he met Tiber Septim for
there's a sword meeting. Hold on,
you're meeting Satakal Orgum.
What's Satakal?
So what's the deal with the hero anyway?
Which hero?
You know the hero, like in the words of Zuran Arctus, the Underking.
Ah, he's talking about the prisoner. That's what he's talking about. That's very much LJ's.
Is that considered a sort of a Lorcanic archetype?
No.
Yes, LJ, it's Icefire Warden time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take it away, my man.
Alright, so.
Oh, here we go.
I could see that little jig you did, LJ. I could see it.
I've seen him in some videos, and he's a very dancing.
It was like one of those.
He's like,
wait. Before we get into the prisoner, thanks to LJ, I would like to make a controversial. Yes, that.
Oh fuck.
Controversial.
Just say shitty.
God damn it!
I would like to make a shitty statement. That's it.
Okay, out with it.
I forgot.
God.
I thought you were gonna tell us it was the buzzing.
That was a shitty statement.
It was.
Oh right.
The buzzing.
The Akmer are basically the remnants of the Black Heart abortion. Okay.
Wait, the Ekmer are what basically?
The remnants of the or whatever is left of the
of the aborted amaranth. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, what? I didn't hear
The remnants of the aborted amaranth. the black amaranth. That's it. Sorry, that's canon now. I deem my canon.
Yeah, that's canon. That's it. Absolutely. There you go.
I can feel
Tell
his
us about
rage.
Degothur. Why does he wear the mask?
Because it's an aborted amaranth. That's canon now.
Okay, so I want to hear what LJ has to say about the prisoner.
Say it. Say the line, LJ.
As always, the aborted amaranth bit is why the current breed's so fucked up.
Look, I'm like so confused right now. I heard Ekmer, and then I heard like aborted amaranth, and
It's
then
because we have 3,000 people in this fucking voice chat. That's
No, listen, the black amaranth is the amaranth that Anu was a part of. Okay, it's where Nier died. It's where their
So
seeds
you're-
died.
so you're-
It's a 12 worlds of creation that
Okay,
came together for the. All right, we're going.
Anyway.
By W's original post
Yeah.
about the hist. Okay, boy.
yeah. Go, LJ. Go.
Talk about them hists.
racist. No, I'm just kidding.
It's the black amaranth, bro.
Kill me.
I don't think I've ever heard LJ laugh that hard.
I'm concerned.
I wanted to make this joke.
Was there a can laugh?
Episodes.
Prisoner time. Shut up.
Oh, man.
It's like you're trying to teach like a elementary school. I think you can relate, Andrew.
Oh, yeah, there's a reason I only do middle and high school.
Yeah. So the prisoner, at least from my perspective, is basically like his own entity. Metaphysically, I don't want to like just read on the Benassi because that's boring, and I don't want to like read a textbook to people.
Also, we'll be here for 3 days.
Yeah, you'll be here for 3 days. You will not be able to leave or take bathroom breaks.
I shit myself every time I put words on paper, my man. So there we go.
Okay.
Oh, we got the Nintendo Idols guy over here. Going hardcore with his lore.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Go on.
Say it.
So you have the Enomorph. So you got the warrior, you got the king, you got the thief, observer, rebel, king, what have you not. Then you have the tower, and then you have the catalyst. Basically, the prisoner always resides in the tower. The Sharmat also resides in the tower because they're two sides of the same coin. They're the elegant and inelegant numbers. They're the 11. The Sharmat's the -1. The prisoner's the +1. Both of them represent the power of maybe, which is like
No. I disagree with that already. I think the Sharmat is negative and ruling king is positive. And then the prisoner is just each individual each individual entity within the tower.
Let
Let
the man finish. Good God.
yeah, just rude.
We don't
Come here.
people with abstract opinions talk, okay?
I come here to serve my lore, and you just
Oh.
skip on me.
Beggars can't be choosers, and we begged for this lore.
Exactly.
Also, I'm drinking pumpkin spice beer like some kind of white bitch.
Andrew, you are some kind of white bitch.
You know, sometimes.
Really?
He's not wrong.
Oh, has anyone seen my fucking Uggs? I can't.
That's the noise we make every time you give us a new theory, right, White Gore?
What? Yeah. Tesla hates me so much.
Some of your posts are just fucking.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Warden time.
Yeah, warden time. Sorry.
Warden.
My bad. That was me.
Tell us about
Where
the
was I
back
even
cable.
at?
Tell us about the prisoner.
Prisoner.
How do we go from
Oh, the
prisoner
prisoner is
to
the Sharmat's
fucking
homoeroticism.
spice beer? Holy shit.
Because Andrew is the prisoner in his own home.
Yeah, it's not a prisoner if you do it to yourself.
Oh hell yeah!
It's
It's
kimchi.
just BDSM.
I don't go outside. As a rule.
Your contract with your wife doesn't allow it.
Okay, go LJ. For the
All right, so I'm gonna post a link to the fucking essay because you guys want to read it. It's like 154 pages long. So I go hard on like that. But like I was saying, in elegant numbers, blah 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 blah. The prisoner, like the reason why the prisoner is so important, at least to me, is because, in my personal, like this is like straight up like personal fucking opinion. You don't have to like it or what. But the tower, or at least the metaphysical actual concept of the tower itself is a tower. It is intrinsical to the nature of the emirate as a whole. And the prisoner / the Charmant, since they're technically the same person, are the stone of that tower, which is one of the reasons why they're so fucking powerful. And since stones basically all have like a special power or like like a way to mold creation as itself.
I don't understand the Charmat, to be honest.
We'll get there.
Was that you, Silence?
No, that was Wive.
Hi. I don't really understand the Charmat, both as a whole and as a stone to the tower.
Yeah, I don't really get the Charmat as well. Fucking hell. God damn it, man. But at least like, cause I mean, some people might think the Charmat is just a dumb merry thing, but as I point out in Onphanasi, there's too many similarities with other sources in the lore, or at least in the games. You got Umaril, you got fucking Myrak. They both have very Charmant-y characteristics. So at least to me, it makes sense that they're kind of like their own entity, or at least.
So who's very Charmant-y? Dragon in the assault, that's very Charmant-y.
Who?
Yeah, I forgot his name, but he's from the Scalebreaker expansion.
Scalebreaker.
He spreads the blight.
Marcelok?
Yeah, Marcelok.
He
spreads the blight.
Oh yeah, the blight. The blight.
Controlled by him.
I like to think the blight is basically an opposite to the green. It just in the same way that the Ephraim gave the names to all things and thus gave them their shapes. Marcelok tears their names away.
Anyway, back to the Charmat. You were saying?
It's why they need the help of Celine, who is an essence, the essence of the green, to give him shape and thought. But they need her to combat Marcelok, because Marcelok is basically the destroyer of names that reverts everything.
Why am I having so many fucking problems?
You okay?
I can't seem to get Toddbot. I can't seem to get Toddbot to fudge scale Matt.
Because you keep misspelling it.
Yeah, I keep.
Okay, but back to the Lorechat.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so I forgot where I was talking about.
Prisoner Charmant things, I believe.
Something about the whatever. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought it was just really interesting. The whole thing with the likes of Marcelok and Ephraim is like.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Why's everyone quiet?
I don't know. We got just dead air. I think LJ was looking for something.
I'm scared.
Would the Underking be a Charmat?
No.
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 The other
Okay.
can't.
I had postulated that Riemann was a Charmat.
Okay, so
Yeah.
can anyone
I could see
explain to
that.
me what Charmat exactly means? I heard that it's a state of anti-CHIM, but I don't think it's that.
No.
It depends on who you ask.
I'm
Yeah.
asking the lore master.
Cause LJ, you came up with anti-Kim, right?
Regrettably, I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
See, regrettably.
Fun.
See.
Yeah.
I do not see the Charmat as that. The Charmat is so it has to do with the machinations of Hermaeus Mora specifically. Because if we think about the origin of Hermaeus Mora is the leftover bits of creation that weren't used in actual creation. So he feels that he has a right to absorb the rest of creation and unify it into himself. And so
the Charmat is an avatar of that or something?
yeah, so the Charmat is called the pawn of the aggregate. And so since, aggregate means a bunch of pieces put together to form a whole, well, if Hermaeus Mora is all the leftover bits of creation mashed together, specifically time, he's related to Akatosh in that way. If you look at tentacles, they kind of look like dragon tails, don't they?
They kind of look like dragon tongues, to be honest.
That too. But hold on. So Hermaeus Mora influences the Charmat and tries to either manipulate him or convince him to try and unify the rest of the Arbus under one house so that Hermaeus Mora can regain control and reclaim what he believes is his birthright.
Influence?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's some kind of mythic mumbo jumbo. I mean, he tried to do it most obviously with Mirak, but people will go, oh, well, how did he do it with Dagoth? Well, if you take a look at the Ascended Sleepers, they look an awful lot like Seekers, don't they? And so I think he's trying to
take my opportunity to show my version of Charmat now, because I told Autumn about this a while ago, but long story short, mine is the Dream Sleeve extends beyond all Amaranths and ties them all together, and a Charmat, or the Charmat, is a dreamer who, rather than getting to make rather than becoming an actual Amaranth, got stuck in the dream and now tries to usurp other dreams into its own dream because it doesn't have it yet.
Yeah, and then so there's also another idea that and I might have missed something important here, but it's thought that there's an all caps Charmat too. So if anyone knows Luther or Darcius, that there's some entity from outside the dream who is trying to usurp the dream and become the dreamer.
Yeah, that's what inspired my
which I mean I used to kind of roll with that theory, but I've abandoned it.
Have your post.
And that came from user Darcius, who I think he was involved in Tamriel Rebuilt, I think. But Luther, he's a good friend. He's been out of the community for, I don't know, probably a year now. He's in my Pokemon group, so that's cool.
Meanwhile, Train Wiz is shit posted on 4chan.
Of course he is. I've only talked to Train Wiz once, and he seemed like a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, he's a pretty chill guy.
I always thought, like, ever since I got into Skyrim modding, like in 2013, I think 2012, I always thought that Train Wiz was like a poster that makes up thing for the meme, what's the name? New York City thing. I thought that was a meme, but no, it's deep lore, and I was so surprised when I realized, oh shit, Coda.
Yeah, man.
Train Wiz is like he's a
Train
Train
Wiz.
channel. He,
Train Wiz is
but he also knows this shit.
Train Wiz is back. Changed my mind.
Well, I've got him on my friends list in ESO, and his house is fucking dope. He has he built an actual train in his house. Out of furniture, and he's got like planes and shit hanging from the ceiling. It's so crazy.
God, he's a goddamn cryptid. I've seen his
It's a
Tumblr.
cryptid.
Seriously, his Tumblr is like a fucking what do you call it? Like a cryptid's lair, like Bigfoot.
No,
cave.
The only time I talked to him, it was when we did the Dwemer lorecast for the selectives, because we had him in there for that. I think we also had Merlin for an orc cast, because he was, I guess, the orc guy on Tesla.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and I didn't really know of him before that, so. But anyway, LJ, did you have anything to add about the prisoner? I don't know if we got too far away from the prisoner.
Well, I just posted something in the chat.
Okay, yeah, I see that. I see that here.
Still from the side, the tower.
To get back to the prisoner here, and I'll read what LJ wrote in the chat here. If we look at the dialogue Sotha Sil has at the end of Clockwork City. He sort of explains vaguely what the prisoner is, and then also some dialogue from Martin Septim, of all people. He kind of gives us some clues too, and so the idea is that the prisoner is an entity, an individual who he is not bound by causality. And so he can make real choices in what is otherwise a deterministic world, right? I mean, if anyone's familiar with determinism, the idea is that all your choices are predetermined, and you're going to make them. They've already been made, and so
that's the thing with Sotha Sil, right? Everything is in the end pointless because you're bound by certainty and
yeah.
You just know.
Yeah, and
you can't do jack shit about it.
Yeah, and so Sotha Sil says, I'm bound to causality. I'm doing what I'm doing because I can't do anything but what I'm supposed to do. And he says, but a prisoner, on the other hand, is not stuck in that. A prisoner can deviate from causality and can make real choices that actually impact things. And one
that Sotha Sil exactly like.
Hold on, Sono.
Something about bars and.
Yeah. He says, you can see the walls of the cage. He says, I see the bars, but I cannot see beyond them. And I think at one point you ask, well, wouldn't that make you the prisoner? He says, haha, you're clever. But no.
No. I think I'm pretty sure what Sotha Sil would say was that he can see the walls of the cage. Like, he can see that he is in the cage, but he cannot perceive the bars or the door.
Yeah, something like that.
Right, so
basically,
it's like being confined in the dark, right? You can't see,
right,
but you know you're stuck. And the prisoner basically has night vision.
Right, so if anti-CHIM was true, okay, then technically Sotha Sil, based on his own description, would be anti-CHIM, but he's not. So he can't, because anti-CHIM would be like almost exactly what Sotha Sil describes. And CHIM, therefore, is being able to be able to step outside of the tower and see the entire thing.
Pretty much. I mean, that's why I say read on nothing.
Oh my god, Bart. Sounds like you're speaking into a.
Yeah, you kind of sounded like Megatron there for a second.
My bad. But like,
Oh, much better.
but like, what one of the reasons why I said read on of Velocity, because I actually do explain the whole Soul connection with the prisoner, because foul murder, which was something that MK drew about the whole killing of Nerevar, is actually a very interesting parallel with the whole prisoner concept. And in Vivek's teachings, or Vex teachings, however you want to pronounce it, there's an interesting line. I just fucking had it. Oh, there we go. He talks about Soul. He's like, his mother brother Set, or her many aspects, who loves the secret tower so much that she trucks with folk that first gave it legs, head, and sexual receptacle. And then later on, I'm like explained in previous chapters, the Animorph is an important concept in their scrolls, blah 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 blah.
You're too close to your mic, and I can't do this anymore.
Can you hear me now?
No?
Yeah, but you work for Sprint now.
Yeah, I know.
That was a clever joke.
I was leading into. I was hoping someone would pick that up. Thank you, Andrew. I always rely on you.
Oh man, yeah, I'm. You know me.
Okay, so where is it at? Oh yeah, the Elder Scrolls is full of sexual innuendos and double entendres.
Oh yeah, no. If it can be interpreted to be a penis, it's a penis.
It's a penis.
Yeah.
I mean, Vivek is a god who chokes people to death with his spear and suffocates enemies by shoving his ebony listening frame over their heads. So once you look past the metaphor, that line basically means they fuck Nerevar so hard they annihilate his genitals. I mean that due to the act of piercing during intercourse not being exclusive to a person's biological sex, then never really could be in any gender. Now remember what Vivek's teaching says about Soul to Sill. Set, or her many aspects, who loves the secret tower so much that she trusts the folks that first gave it legs, cut off his feet so he may walk any path, head, they removed his face so he may be of any race and sexual receptacle, and pierced him through so he be of any sex. The prisoner, due to being a manifestation of unlimited possibility, has no definite, so their past, occupation, race, and gender is whatever they feel like being at the moment. Which is why the prisoner why the player who controls the main character that is the prisoner is able to dictate what they look like, behave like, and do at any given moment. Mortal, god, warrior, scholar, criminal, incarnation, Shezarine, Dragonborn, all of these are maybes in the eyes of the prisoner. As we learned so far, that word maybe defines their very being, is what gives them the power to do what they do.
Where are you reading that from?
It's from
Anupanasi.
What?
Anupanasi, my essay about the prisoner.
Yes.
Well, something Martin Septim says at, I think, towards the end of Oblivion, is he says, something like the day would have been lost if it hadn't been for you. You chose to act. You made a choice, and you made the difference. And so that's a reference to our power as a prisoner, because we are the ones who get to make the choice to actually change things and defeat Mehrunes Dagon or whatever, And so, every player character, with the exception of, I think, Cyrus. I don't think Cyrus is a prisoner. I don't think.
Oh yeah.
Is the Vestige a prisoner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
I think Tiber Septim was also a prisoner.
No.
I'm wondering.
What do you mean? He had such understanding of metaphysical knowledge that he became the OS of the fucking.
But he did.
I want to hear what Wife has to say before I respond to that about TalOS. Go ahead.
I was wondering, do all the prisoners share the same AE?
No, I don't think so. Not necessarily. They might. The whole thing is that they're effectively anonymous. We don't know who they are. Even history history doesn't identify them. And so it's certainly possible, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. If you want to take it that way, then by all means, certainly I don't really have a problem with that, but I don't think it's necessarily true.
Yeah, in the case of the prisoners, think of it as it's a different AE every time you make a different character to play out a different build or roleplay a different story. It's a different self in each of those because you've created something new.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know that questions about the soul, specifically in that context, are really applicable to the prisoner as a whole, because I mean the prisoner is so distended from that. It is a metaphysical entity rather than an entity in universe. This if that makes sense. But going back to TalOS, the thing with TalOS, to my mind, is that TalOS is the culmination of 3 Shezarines, being Hjalti, Earlybeard, King Wolfhearth, and Zurin Arctus. All 3 were Shezarines. They're incarnates of Lorcan, who has been doomed to walk for many phases on Mundus. And so when they're all little bits of Lorcan, they come together to form TalOS in multiple different ways. There are multiple enantiomorphs that are completed by this union of the 3 of them. Zurin and Wolfhearth become the Underking. Zurin and Hjalti become Tiber Septim, and Wolfhearth and Hjalti become TalOS Stormcrown. And then those 3, TalOS Stormcrown, the Underking, and Tiber Septim, merge as TalOS. And so this TalOS eventually mantles Lorcan because the 3 original ones were already Shezarines. They were already a part of Lorcan. They understand, oh, hey, we're all Lorcan, so let's just reclaim our throne. And then Lorcan's back. Hey, here he is. He is the ruling king of Mundus, because it's his Daedric realm anyway, according to Mankar Cameron.
Right, but
so what is TalOS?
Sona first, and then wife.
Yeah, we keep starting at the same time. I'm sorry, wife. So the ruling king is a concept brought up in the 36 lessons, and it's a complete master of the world with no equal. If we're saying that the prisoner is completely free of determinism, then the prisoner is a ruling.
Not necessarily. I mean that's. I think that's deviating from it, because I mean the ruling king is. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, if we look at, let's to use an analogy here. Let's say you've got a king's court, right? You've got your king who sits at the top and he makes all the decisions and he's the most important person. But then you've got a vagabond, the person who's they're easily ignored, but they're free to move about and do whatever they're going to do without much notice. They don't upset the status quo necessarily. They certainly have the ability to, but they don't necessarily. They are the king of their own world, of their own existence, because they can move from town to town. They can be under different kings, and nobody really gives a shit. But at the end of the day, you still have a king sitting on the throne, right? So, I mean, it really becomes a matter of, I guess, relativism. I mean, the ruling king is from a specific perspective. And, I mean, everyone is the master of their own destiny or something like that. But, I mean, we're talking about determinism, which isn't necessarily the case. So if master of their own destiny could be a king in a manner of speaking, that doesn't necessarily meet the qualifications to be a ruling king, because the ruling king is a more metaphysical kind of thing, whereas the prisoner is something entirely separate.
I personally think that every ruling king has been a prisoner, but I don't think every single rule. I don't think every
prisoner is gonna. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a requirement to be that. Like, I don't think if you can't do what Silthasil says you have to do to be a prisoner, I don't think you can achieve CHIM.
Maybe.
I would say being a prisoner is beyond CHIM.
Actually, I got something here.
Yeah, lay it on us.
I'm gonna post it in the chat as well, since it'll be easier to read it, and you guys can read it too.
I have another topic that I'd like to discuss, but so let me know when we're done.
Okay, yeah, I haven't forgotten about you.
But let me see. But okay, here we go. To go back to the D&D parallel, to make that idea clear, think of the entirety of Elder Scrolls as a D&D campaign, which is fitting since you originate as one of those. The GM is the godhead, and the campaign itself is the amulet or the dream. The Ada, the gods, are ordinary players. They are aware that the dream exists, but are largely content the characters they have made in the campaign, and if they grow tired of them, they can always change roles or create more. Ordinary mortals are regular NPCs that you encounter when the campaign, unaware that they are created solely for the campaign and believing that this world is the real one. Mortals who zero-sum are the NPCs that die and become forgotten during the game, while the ones that achieve CHIM are the ones that become quasi-characters themselves, being able to change the nature of their characters to gain new abilities and roles that put them on par with the actual players. The Shaman is the player who has grown discontent with the current campaign, only creating a character when they want to disrupt the current game with their hopes of being chosen as a new GM. The Numidium is the player that hates the others, the campaign, and GM, and is secretly applying the entire table over towards the end of the game. But something that still ties them all, except for possibly the Shaman and the Numidium, is that at the end of the day, the GM still controls their dice, their fate, and makes them roll for initiative to do what their fate entails, except for the prisoner. The prisoner is the player that has read over the files, the worker that is this campaign, and can possibly be the GM that they chose to be so. But instead of just messing around the game, altering the game, manipulating the game, or trying to end the game like the others, the prisoner actually just plays the game, taking control of their own character and doing what they feel is what they need to do in order to win. The GM doesn't control their fate, the prisoner is the only one that rolls their own dice, and because of that, they are a target of interest for everyone seated around the table.
Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain Andrew and I have brought this up in the past in a previous Lorechat, but I think it was like Lorechat 17 or something back then. Because I know this is a topic we brought up like months ago. I'll also be right back.
So yeah, that's like I said, that's part of Onphanosy, which is why I always tell people to read it, because I express it better in essays.
That was, oh my good lord.
The Sigic endeavor is not just trying to achieve CHIM.
Oh, here, before we get sidetracked again, I wanna get to Wive, because I don't want Wive to be forgotten.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought she had just finished. Whoops, sorry.
Well,
no, go ahead, Wive.
One is a question and the other is a topic I wish to discuss because it's very like, I don't know. I would say niche, but I don't know. I guess it's just not talked about.
Okay.
So the first question is, TalOS, Tal, parentheses.
Yeah. Yeah.
From what I understand, that's like the oversoul or an AI. What is it exactly?
Okay. So TalOS is just a metaphor that TalOS has essentially become the operating system of the simulation that is the Argus.
Yeah. It's hard to say. But I mean that is the main idea behind it, that he has become an operating system. And this is actually something that I've kind of mentioned in I think I mentioned it in my opinion article in this next issue of the Talmora, which should be out within the next couple of days. Yeah, I mean that kind of it leads a lot of people to the assumption that the Arbus takes place within a machine, and that the dreamer is a metaphor for a computer. So it's literally a simulation, which would match with the idea that, Kim is console command and access to the construction set, whatever.
I absolutely hate that.
Oh, so do I.
I'm seething with rage.
I absolutely dislike it as well. But some people dig it, and I can see why they would go to those lengths, right? But yeah, I mean that's at least my understanding of TalOS. But
I think CHIM is a bit higher up than that. Like it's less having console commands and more like you have the creation engine.
Yeah.
I will destroy you.
You will what?
Destroy you.
Oh.
Because haha, yes, funny.
Yeah, no, and
funny CHIM console command.
actually, let me see if I can actually pull up my my thing here, because I want to quote this here. Let's see.
Right, of course.
Let me see if I can find it here. There it is. So this article is called "The Line in the Sand." That this will be in the next issue. Let's see. I talk about So basically, it's an article about the difference between game mechanics and lore. And so let's see. Control F, TalOS. There we go. So let's see. The former. Let's see. While many view The Elder Scrolls as a game series first and foremost, I am not among them. Coming from a background of literature, philosophy, and roleplay, I tend to lean away from explanations of things that create real-world connections, outside of the odd subtextual meta-commentary. While many agree that The Elder Scrolls is a game that knows it is a game, I instead suggest that The Elder Scrolls is a text that knows it is a text. Now, when I say text, I don't mean purely writing variety. In scholarship surrounding pedagogy, or educating youth for the layperson, we view text as any object that is read and or interpreted. Bar graphs are a text, movies are a text, instructions are a text, novels are a text, and so on. It is in this way that I view The Elder Scrolls, a text to be interpreted. The former interpretation leads folks to a more technological hue in their lore. For example, that TalOS is the operating system of the Arbus, that Khajiit are a form of antivirus, that the dream is of a computer, your computer specifically, and as I mentioned above, CHIM is a fourth wall break that demonstrates a self-awareness of this technological foundation. My interpretation of the lore is tinted in a much more abstract way. Vivek knows he is a figment of imagination, the dream is a literal dream, and everything is a metaphor for some cerebral process rather than a technological one. So yes, I'm not a huge fan of.
It's also like in a Nubanasi entirely. Wait, time.
No, Silence. This is the opinion article that I'm putting in the October issue of the Telmora, which should be out within the next couple days.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Say, real fucking quick.
Hi, Felix. I missed you.
Hi, I've been here for a few minutes.
Oh, have you?
Hold the fuck up, but you didn't hold the fuck up because you're drunk.
I am a little bit.
So anyway, I'm seeing a lot of things about CHIM and etc. Okay, so give the people who are just kind of trying to get into this and give a kind of basic answer for the difference between CHIM and Amaranth. There's a really good thing that you can take away from Hinduism about this, where CHIM is akin to moksha, which is where you kind of become, you achieve ego death and you free yourself from human bonds.
No, I want you to type it. I want you to type that word so I can Google it.
I will. Let me fucking
Moksha. Okay. Thank you, Matt.
So CHIM is basically like moksha. Then Amaranth is kind of more like nirvana, where you really kind of go and rejoin God, as it were, but you're kind of also partly like in control of the dream as it is. That's how that works. If you're looking for a basic explanation for how you want to have an understanding of the difference between CHIM and Amaranth, CHIM is like moksha, Amaranth is like nirvana. And now I will type.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that Amaranth is becoming Brahma, less than achieving nirvana.
I think that's a misunderstanding of Brahma, because Brahma's the god and Brahman is the concept, the concept of it. The concept of Brahman is different, and Brahma basically Hinduism's fucking weird. You have a massive
Yeah, it is.
pantheon with several overlapping gods who are basically just forms of different gods, which makes Vishnu really fucking complicated, but more on that blue bastard later. Basically, you have the main trinity, the Trimurti, which is Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. This is the destroyer. Vishnu is the preserver, and Brahma is the creator. So they kind of take each different part of the cycle, right? If you kind of want to think of it, they're kind of like the Akatusk. So you got like Alduin is kind of like what the fuck did I say? Shiva, and Akatosh is more like Vishnu, and hence all the Dragonborns and shit. And then this sort of new creating world when the dragon kind of creates the advent of time. So I guess we can call that. What is it, Anuiel or Ariel or whatever the fuck? That's more like Brahma. Whereas Brahman is the, and this is again why I hate her in terms of names in Hinduism. But Brahman is more like the spiritual life essence that flows through everything and is beyond all human possible perception of time, imperfection, virtue, vice, etc. It's a force. It's not. It's kind of tricky to explain. But one of the ways that Indians like to explain it is imagine a water drop, like a pool or a river of water, and that drop, it ripples out and eventually dissipates. And even though it was at one point separate, it has now returned to the whole, kind of thing. That's kind of how they try and explain Brahman as a concept, which is why you need to achieve ego death so that you can go and rejoin and break the cycle. You need to escape the cycle, and you can only do that by achieving moksha, and then after that, nirvana.
Does that help?
I feel like I personally feel like CHIM is moksha and nirvana, and then
two very different concepts.
No. I think it's a blend of the two, though. I don't think it's just one or the other. And then I think that Amaranth is literally is becoming Brahma. You become the creator. You stop being like, you might still exist within the creation, but you become the creator.
All right, hang on 1 second.
Okay, so are we done?
I mean, there was a bit about necromancy we had kind of glossed over a little bit. I mean, that was like an hour ago.
Yeah.
I remember what I was talking about.
I don't know if we still want to talk about necromancy real quick. And there was one thing Johnny wanted to bring up. I don't know if he's still.
Johnny left.
Yeah, Johnny left. He wanted me to bring it up, so I promised him I would. So I don't know if we want to deal with necromancy next time or do both.
I was gonna bring up.
We're at an hour and 37 minutes right now. So you guys tell me what we're doing.
I wanted to talk about Oyarsa a bit.
We're gonna party.
About what?
Oyarsa. Let me type it up.
Yeah, I don't.
1 second.
Yeah, type it because I'm not sure. I'm understanding.
This bastard.
Also, hi Svein. I see you in chat there.
That's a topic and a half because oh my god, I love Oyarsa. From the little I read of her, I love her so much.
Wait, who are we talking about?
Oyarsa from Landfall Days Earth.
All kinds of fishy sticks.
Alright, okay, so in relation to what someone was saying earlier about how CHIM and Amaranth are the same, no, and actually dude on the Elder Scrolls forums by the name of Pelinal Whitestrike, great name by the way if you're out there, he had the following to say.
Oh, wait, is that the same Pelinal Whitestrike who has the page on Facebook? Because that dude's a Nazi. I just want us to be aware of that.
I have no idea. It might be, but I'm pulling this from
fandom,
the Elder Scrolls Wiki fandom.
Okay, page. Yeah, because Gabriel Albrecht is a Nazi bitch, and fuck him.
I'm aware.
Yeah, continue.
post that I just found, because one I saw earlier, explains the difference between CHIM and Amaranth.
How correct is this whole thing that about mantling the godhead? Because I want to use it in, like, for conversations with some like the Amaranth being basically mantling the godhead and becoming the godhead and just streaming a new Amaranth, but yeah.
So okay,
from what I've seen,
when you achieve Amaranth, and this is why it's actually very different from Nirvana as a concept. When you achieve Amaranth, you achieve what is considered the next subgradient below death. I forget which sermon says it. And what they generally mean by that is that you become a new dreamer. You're still within the Godhead's dream, but now you are asleep and dreaming your own dream with your own new interplay and new gods coming up, and you're still tied to memory and all this stuff.
For reference, it's not a requirement that you be asleep. There's multiple mentions that kind of imply that Anu has been awake before and interacting in the dream and then went back to sleep. I don't think it's a requirement.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would say it's a requirement to be asleep or at least unconscious. There's
can't be a dreamer.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
What? Oh, dead.
No, look, but I don't. Okay. I think that the dream that we're thinking of isn't like the word dream. There can be literal in the sense that it's something you're imagining, but I don't think that means that Anu is asleep and is unconscious to make that happen. I don't think a requirement is unconsciousness.
Here's the thing: you can't dream unless you're asleep.
No, that's not true. I think that you can have ego death and still dream. Like daydreaming is still a thing.
Except daydreaming is different from the traditional concept of a dream, where we're talking about REM sleep basically. And if I can finish, it's actually also about the part that I've been trying to get to. Is that there is a way for you to also lucidly dream or have a projection within the dream. Hence all the different subgradients, because Anu's trying to understand himself and therefore the dream. And it's part of why the dragon is fucking insane. And it's not really the only god of madness that we think about. Because everyone thinks, oh, Shagor's the god of madness. Well, imagine being Akatosh. Everything is kind of twin brother is just another part of you. What the fuck is time? Oh god, I am time. What does that mean?
I mean,
the little timely things.
I mean,
is
this
time even a fucking concept? Oh my god, I'm going insane and it's been 2 fucking minutes.
Yeah, this kind of gets into the idea. I mean, what do we know about the dreamer? And the answer is not much. There are a lot of different interpretations as to what the dreamer means, and that's assuming we agree that the dream is just a dream. I mean, a lot of people will assume that the dreamer is analogous to effectively, the idea of a Hindu godhead. It's or an Aristotelian unmoved mover. I mean,
an eldritch horror.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, I personally, I like this idea. I don't know that I necessarily accept it, but I like the idea that the dreamer is a transgendered woman, who is in the process. Yeah, she's in the process of accepting herself.
My God, I love her so much.
And
thank you.
Have you read that piece, The Transubstantiation of Anu?
No.
No. Well, remind me.
Or if I did, it was a while ago.
Remind me and I'll link it to you. It was.
I agree with Lady Naravar and Michael Kirkbride's interpretation that it's not a literal dream.
Yeah, and that's
not literally conscious, but they're not literally.
That's fine. I mean, I can tell them to blow me in PM. So.
I'm obsessed. Oh my god, I am absolutely livid. Holy shit. I love that. Who came up with that?
So this was an idea that both I and Mac McGeehee, also known as Kajiti Eminem, we were just kind of talking and shooting the shit and we had this idea that because I mean, if you look at the statistics, I think it's like 42% of transgender people between the ages of like 18 and 24 attempt suicide. That's a really high number. And so I thought, okay, well, what if the dream is the result of an attempted suicide by a transgender woman? And so, we looked, and so we kind of deconstructed a lot of things in the lore, and kind of picked out, we were trying to read it through a specific lens, and in this case, it was, what if the dream is transgender? And so, one of the main arguments I make is that Vivek goes through the whole of the Elder Scrolls as the magical hermaphrodite, is generally gender fluid, but honestly, we refer to Vivek as a he, use male pronouns. But then come Coda, we see Vivek at the very end as a female. And we thought, okay, well, what if that's representative of the dreamer finally accepting herself? In this scene,
I think the issue I have with that isn't so much the trans thing. It's that Vivek mentions in What My Beloved Taught Me, like, directly what genitalia he has, and he literally tells you that he has the same genitalia as a female hyena.
Yeah.
You gotta write all of this down.
Oh, it's already written. It's already written now.
Where?
Give me like 5 minutes.
Do a lot of reading.
I'll get you.
Go to UES library.
It's actually on neither of those. It's on the Telmora.
Discord, links on Tumblr.
The trans. I tried to do some really clever things with. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's it right there. Notice the subtitle, Manifold the Fray. If you turn that into acronyms, it becomes MTF. So that was a fun piece to write.
Thank you. Oh my god, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, you got it.
I love seeing people get this excited about trans writing.
No, like I've gotten some really good feedback on this piece.
It's so rare to see trans.
And I mean, we fucking break it down. And so I suggested in this piece that Vivek is the self-insert of the dreamer via CHIM. So CHIM is a way for the dreamer to kind of be involved in the dream. But if TalOS had CHIM, then what does that make TalOS? Would that make TalOS also a self-insert? Well, yes, because TalOS is the self-insert of the dreamer of how Anu believes she is supposed to be. As having been born male, TalOS is this male ideal. And I kind of talk about that in the section about TalOS and how he's.
I think kind of. So I have two interpretations of Anu. I have the one where the dream is not literal; they're not literally conscious, and then my other one is that Anu is probably non-binary. I don't think.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I mean, this isn't necessarily an idea that. I don't know if
non-binary now.
No, yeah, that's well, okay. So I'm non-binary, but I mean, like the fact that they represent so well within their conception, both male and female parts without issue, I think implies that they have a wonderful understanding of both.
Oh my god, I'm in love with everything.
Well, I'm glad. But before
God, the fucking static. Jesus.
So I've got to be a man of my word, and I gotta bring up what Johnny wanted to talk about. After we're done with the stream, we can continue to shoot the shit about stuff. But for now, I gotta at least check off this box here.
I think I'm done. Like anyway, because it's almost 2 a.m.
All right.
I think ending it on knowing such a monumental discovery and literally crying. It's a good way to like end it for me.
Well, let me pose this question here, as I don't know that I have actual answers, but
the thing about the Golden Saints.
Yeah. So Johnny asks. So
For the record, ESO doesn't expand much on the
yeah.
society.
Well, let me lay out the question first. So Johnny asks, what do we know about Golden Saint and Dark Seducer culture outside of what is shown in Oblivion? Does ESO or Skyrim have any more to add to the lore of their societies? Also, what are the chimes referenced in Saints and Seducers? The book says they both mention it, but it doesn't appear to be in any Oblivion dialogue in my USB searches for the Saints and Seducers. So, for Golden Saints and Dark Seducers, we don't know a whole lot. I think Golden Saints are called Aurorans? Is that? No.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Oh no, they're
Oriels
or something.
Yeah, something like that.
No.
Because Aurorans are Merid. Yeah, they're Meridian.
Yeah.
Oriels, that's it. Bye, Viv. Wife. Oh, already. Okay. I'm gonna do that. Oh no, wrong one. I wanted to do that one. There we go. So, I mean, yeah, I figure that their culture is, I mean, I imagine they're very similar, but opposite in a lot of aspects. Similar to, like, how we might look at Western culture versus Eastern culture. Because, I mean, let's you know, that most of the Western world operates on a solar calendar and, you know, very, very individualistic, whereas take Japan, for example, or China, traditionally on a lunar calendar, and they're very, you know, the population as a whole takes precedence rather than in the individual.
Let's get freaky and talk about the Iranian solar calendar.
Oh God, yeah. Please.
What? That's kind of, you know, in the same way that Western and Eastern culture are different. I imagine that Golden Saint and Dark Seducer culture are different in that same kind of vein. They're similar in that, you know, maybe two first world nations or whatever, you know, the equivalent might be. But I mean that they appear to be almost entirely martial. I mean that the thing with Oblivion is, you know, and the denizens of Oblivion is they don't really need specific jobs, right? I mean, you don't need farmers, you don't need child rearers, you don't need you know, you don't need textile workers. Like there are all these jobs that you don't need because the Daedra are immortal, and you know, like war is the one thing that really matters, right? It's the only, you know, that hunting is their main sport. Like, yeah, what's up, Charlie?
I wanted to bring up that I think in the case of the Daedra, you could almost look at it in a similar vein of like, because Daedra and Oblivion are so often meant to be reflections or representations of things that exist on Tamriel, and of course, by extension of being on Tamriel, reflections of things within our own cultures in our world. I think in a lot of cases, whenever you see things like the Oriels and the Mazkin, who are like showing off this very real-looking culture that almost feels like it's real, but it's also kind of not there.
Yeah.
Like it's going too far.
Well,
I think that is because it's those Daedra sort of choosing to do that. They represent it because they feel a pull to represent it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm thinking about the origins of them, you know, in a meta way, because the first Dark Seducers, I don't know if they were Dark Seducers or just Seducers. I think they were in either Arena or Daggerfall, and they were literal winged. Yeah, that they were literal winged succubi. And so yeah. Whereas Golden Saints, I don't think they ever showed up until Morrowind. But
no, I think Golden Saints did show up in Morrowind.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were first present in Morrowind, so I don't think they were in, you know, Daggerfall, Redguard, Arena. But I wonder if it's a almost a pride kind of thing. So like the Dark Seducers, given their name, I wonder if they are similar to succubi in, very promiscuous, and they'll, trade sex for power or whatever.
It's certainly implied in Battlespire that they're like the personal concubines of Dagon.
Yeah, something like that. And then maybe maybe the Ariels, the Golden Saints, are so stringently honorable and just stingy and upright, and they got something metaphorically stuck up their ass all the time. So like they're opposite that way, maybe, but otherwise they're so martial and guards or warriors or whatever. But what do you think?
I think we need to remember that there are male Mazkin.
There are. That's right.
We meet one.
So there are incubi as well.
Let's see. Clips of Failure. I'm pretty sure this is where
That's where the band Incubus gets their name from.
Yeah.
I think it's the Observer.
The actual angels are supposed to be in lore.
No.
See, in my tabletop game, I just equated, because I use the 3.5 rules and monsters and everything, and I just kind of changed things to be Elder Scrolls. When someone uses a spell to summon like an angel or whatever, any kind of positive aligned outsider, I just say it's a Magna G and call it good.
Nice.
Yeah. That's my so I'll use the Magna G Pantheon, and I'll just kind of grab one at random. Oh yes, here's thread right, of the Y sign.
Here's the memory of Eric Nunda.
Yeah. Which is interesting, because Lee says the male Dark Seducers are essentially lower class to the usual seducer, and I think
I would honestly believe that. I would believe that
sounds familiar. So very very matriarchal, which is similar to the Drow of Forgotten Realms, another classic D&D.
Why wouldn't you use Aurorans? They're like, the servant of a Magna G or a former one. They're against undead.
Yeah, I don't know. But as far as Johnny's question about chimes, that sounds like it's a reference to tones, if I had to guess. So I guess the quote is, "May the chimes call you home," or something. I mean, my best guess is that it's a. I mean, let me see if I can pull up the book Saints and Seducers, so that I can Saints and Seducers. No, I don't want Reddit. I know I live there, but
I've got the books pulled up already.
Let's see. Yeah, may the chimes call you home. It's just a rather merely metaphor. Sound may play some role in the sequence of events. It is believed that the chimes referenced by Saints and Seducers do indeed exist and are considered almost holy relics. Attempts to gain information about these chimes or the process by which they are used has been met with exceptional hostility, and so has been abandoned. Yeah. Oh, Felix, you're talking my language right there. Like that.
I think the chimes are probably representative of kind of so in Islam, you have the person that stands atop the towers and calls people to prayer.
Yeah. So maybe like church bell kind of things.
Yes. It's called the Adhan actually in Islam, which is the call out that a muazzin makes for prayer.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, but past that, I mean, no, ESO and Skyrim didn't give us anything about Golden Saints or Dark Seducers. I mean, it's implied in Oblivion that, based on how little you can actually summon from Oblivion, I think you can do Atronachs and then Dramora.
Yeah. You can also
And that's
summon
it.
Spider, too.
You summon a what?
I think you can also summon Spider Daedra.
I don't. Are you sure? As I don't think they even have a model in Skyrim. You can?
In Oblivion?
Oh, in Skyrim? No.
In Skyrim.
No, I was saying in Oblivion.
Oh, did I say Oblivion on accident?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I'm talking about Skyrim.
How dare you make me confused?
My bad.
I will destroy the White Guar.
No, because it's almost implied that the lemon is sealed after the events between Martin and Dagon, and so only certain Daedra can come in. Yeah, so I mean Atronox, I mean that makes sense, and then Dramora, but we see no other Daedra throughout the entirety of the game.
Which
I don't think.
Ass.
Yeah, dude, I wanna fucking Daedroth. I wanna summon Clan Fears. I wanna summon, Golden Saints and Hungers and Ogrims.
Wait, which game are we talking about right now?
Skyrim.
Oh yeah, Skyrim just kind of sucks in general, and I'm pretty sure TES 6 is about to be a fucking garbage.
I don't know. I've got.
You guys ready to be a reincarnation of Undi?
I've got a sneaking suspicion that MK is on board.
Oh no, yeah, he is based on his comments. Also, for sure, we know that Redfall is not the title of
Yeah.
TES.
Oh yeah. No. I know that.
Hey guys, watch Test 6 actually be in Somerset.
Yeah, well, yeah, because Kirkbride made a comment on Facebook. He posted. He said something like, "Well, I guess it's time to get weird again." And we were like, "What?
Michael,
what?"
Michael, have you slept recently?
TES 6 is obviously set after Coda.
Yeah, I don't know.
What you see,
Darth, I don't want to say. I don't want to say for sure that MK is back in TES. It is.
That sounds very suspicious.
Yeah. I mean that.
Could.
But I think in other comments in that thread that he started, he said something about how it's unrelated to Elder Scrolls, but I don't know that I believe that.
Well, he did say when he said that when he was doing the Ask Me Anything, he said that he was starting a new 20-year project, and that was like 5 years ago. So he's probably getting ready to start presenting that soon.
I don't know.
So it's entirely possible that he could be doing some weird and wacky lore for something else other than Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, and that's why I say I'm not confident in that. But
he did mention that his goal with his 20-year project is to make Morrowind look normal.
Well, if anyone can do it.
Hey, I have a question.
To make Morrowind what? It cut out for me.
Normal.
What's that, Charlie?
Who the hell is Banu?
That's Felix.
Oh. Hey, Felix.
He's basically seen me in most of the lore chat since episode 25, where I made my debut in the Thalmer episode.
I don't think I was in episode 25.
Well, no. Felix is another selective. He wrote Aria. He's my go-to. He's my go-to Redguard guy.
Who's gonna write Altmer stuff soon?
The real question is, who the fuck is Charlie?
The fuck is who? Because he keeps cutting out.
He is Charlie. You see?
Charlie.
No, that was a fucking. I just want you to know.
Cutting out for everyone, or is it just you?
I think it's everyone.
Oh shit, ripping.
Also, I made a Boxy reference and no one fucking noticed.
Oh no!
Wait, when was before I got here? Or what?
I am Boxy, you see?
See, I was kind of hoping you didn't actually make a reference, and then everyone was gonna try and say, "Oh yeah, no, I heard it," and then you're gonna pull a big jape on it.
No.
Cherno, I would recommend you
No,
stop.
Boxy was the queen of B.
Yeah, man, you didn't know that? Before B turned to absolute shit.
It's always been shit.
No. It was very special, kind of like corn infused shit. There were some
No.
good chunks of meat in there.
No, see.
I think
But now it's just terrible.
I think anywhere that upholds ableism and racism is
Oh, yeah.
probably not.
Oh yeah, no, total garbage. But the thing
That's
is,
why I said it's
see,
shit, but it gives
I
us
was
space back.
I was around there in 2006, at its heyday, and
I was there around then too.
yeah, and you know the going gag is, oh, I remember when B was good, and then you know everyone says
was never
it
good.
was never good. Yeah, it was So
It's worse now.
just
Well,
to
yeah, because if you unironically make fun of autistic people and screeching and
Oh,
fucking
dude.
shit like that and racism, you're an awful human.
yeah, there's so much garbage on 4chan. I used
Yeah,
to
it's
yeah.
like those
Well,
people basically just took all that kind of anger and
No,
look
dude,
at me, I'm an edge lord. Oh, it's just
stay away.
And they came out the other end of that as full-fledged Nazis that we have to deal with.
I think the thing I hate most about the change in our culture, and 4chan is really, really fucking contributing to this, is that if you're not being ironic, if anything is being serious or unironic now, then like you're considered like quote unquote a faggot by
everyone. I would like to know if we could potentially move this after the Lorechat.
Yeah. I was gonna try and address Clavica Smile's question. Why does silver? Yeah. So go ahead.
It's just I was wanting to touch on Barbina. Okay.
So you were wanting to know why silver hurts vampires and werewolves, right?
Oh, we addressed that in the vampire and werewolf Lorecast.
Which I think I don't think I was there for that. I think I was listening. I was at a hotel at the time, and I was taking a shower, and I had my phone like sitting in a place where it wouldn't get wet.
Chris and
it was Chris and you and Aramithius and James.
I guess I
I feel like there was someone else.
Oh yeah, LJ, were you there? I don't know. But I was.
Let me find it real quick.
Anyway, well, I mean, the whole thing with silver. I mean, this comes from real world lore. Silver is supposedly, you know, like a pure element. It's a pure material, and because of that, I mean, and it may have something to do with the low grade antibiotic properties that silver has.
Which is hilarious, seeing that copper has a better antibiotic property.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, it has to do with the purity of it. It's the same reason fairies traditionally are harmed by iron.
Okay, no. I will say the reason fairies are harmed by things like iron and steel is because those are made and shaped by people. However, if I recall correctly, in most old stories about werewolves, and mind you, it's only werewolves who are actually harmed by silver. Vampires aren't.
Yeah.
The reason werewolves are harmed by silver is because, from an alchemical standpoint, silver is directly tied to the moon.
Yeah, although in at least in Morrowind, I think vampires have a 25% resistance to normal weapons, and silver doesn't count as a normal weapon. So silver can hit vampires, it can hit Daedra. Because if you try to take a steel longsword and hit a scamp, you're not gonna get anywhere with that. But silver longsword, hey, now you got something. Which that whole mechanic in Morrowind is kind of silly because every weapon above steel is considered a special weapon. So
yeah, it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it's like, okay, after
after
fourth level.
No orichalcum weapons exist. Like, do they count as special? I don't actually remember. I think they're the only ones above steel that don't count as being innately magical.
Yeah, because orichalcum, that's what gave, I think, the Yokudans the edge in combat, I think. It was like it could be sharpened so much or something like that.
Yeah, you can make it so thin as to cut the atomos. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I right, Felix?
Sorry, I'm currently typing at LJ's comment about silver. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
Or orichalcum that gave the Yokudans the edge in battle, right? And that was what let them defeat the left-handed elves.
Yes, Diagna brought orichalcum.
Yeah.
Not orichalcum, orichalc weapons to the.
Yeah,
to the
and now it's traditionally used by orcs, which is interesting. As I think if you, I think in ESO, or no, it's actually in Skyrim. If you get orichalcum, and you create items with that, it uses an orc motif, in Skyrim.
Basically, orichalcum, I would put it at a point of like, it is traditionally used by orcs on Tamriel. On Yokuda, either A, it was used by the Yokudans, or B, it was used by the left-handed elves, and Lecky stole it from them to give it to the Yokudans.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Which I think would be way more interesting of a story.
Yeah, but I don't know, Clavicus, to speculate here, I mean, it may be a real-world tie to, the myth that silver's linked to the moon, or in this case, the moons. It may have something to do with just the alchemy of it, its tone, maybe. It disrupts the chaoticness of...
By the way?
Yeah.
By the way, I'm posting real-life orichalcum in the Lorechat.
Okay.
Yeah, in real life...
Basically like brass, almost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in real life, orichalcum was commonly brought up in Greek myth as being, like, a very important, like, special metal.
Interesting. I didn't know it was a real
also
thing.
a metal favored by the mythical Atlanteans.
That's super cool. I didn't know it was a real thing. I thought it was something like adamantium, like just fucking made up,
Don't you guys just love that mithril exists in TES?
Yep. And although I don't think we ever see it in ESO. It only exists in Oblivion, I think.
Oblivion and Daggerfall.
Was it in Daggerfall? I never played all the way through Daggerfall.
Daggerfall
So.
also had mithril weapons, so it pisses me off. It didn't have any weapons in Oblivion.
Yeah. Oh, that thing. Yeah, Moonstone is used in Skyrim for elven weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of
Moonstone
course in ESO,
That's it, yeah.
Moonstone is used.
There's something else you have to use too.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's we're hitting 2 hours and 12 minutes. So this is one of the longer ones we've had in recent memory. So I
also
think
one of the busiest.
Yeah, I know. I have more people than I think we've ever had. The most we used to get was like 10 at a time, but that was because of
Hangouts.
Hangouts. Yeah, I could only have 10 at a time. So I'm gonna end the stream there. So everybody wave bye, which is my favorite joke because I'm the only one the stream can see.
Camera.
Bye, internet.